Welcome to another episode of TFL's Leaderboard Hot or Not, and as always, I have my man Paul.
Good morning.
TFL's expert race car driver, and today we've got a really cool car because if you love Evos, you're going to love this show. We've got the Mitsubishi Evo 9 from 2006, the MR edition, the one that caused a lot of people a lot of consternation because it had this little like Shark Tank, shark tooth thing in the back.
Vortex generator.
Yeah, vortex generator, that's right. It was a vortex generator and people were like, what the heck is that?
It improved the efficiency of the rear wing. Everyone knows that, Roman.
Yes. And we're doing some more non-traditional cars because we think that this car has the ability to perhaps set the track record. Now, the car is not stock. Tell them what's special about the car.
Well, the car's a 2006 MR, so that means it has a 6-speed transmission, but it's also a 2.3-liter stroker, and then it's tuned on E85, running stock Evo 9 turbo, which actually would work pretty well around our track. So
let's see how fast it is from 0 to 60 because it's got all-wheel drive. It's got very little turbo lag, right? Because of the way the thing is set up, the timing's been advanced, and it's running 85, so it should be fast.
All right, here we go. We got the 2.3 stroker Evo 9 running on E85 with a stock turbo. And let's see what we can do 0 to 60. Here we go. All right, so first run there, 4.59 seconds. It's 0 to 60 run at altitude, so pretty good run there for stock Evo 9 turbo.
Well, that was fast, Paul.
It was fast.
That was really fast.
Yeah, it was. It's an amazing car to launch. It builds boost instantly. Every other turbo car I've ever driven around the track, and now we've had quite a few. You're always launching, and then about halfway through getting the clutch out, it's finally starting to get into the boost. This car was like in boost, like as soon as you were letting the clutch out, it was already spinning all 4 tires and away you went. It was really impressive.
Now, when we did the Porsche, it had a little issue bogging, but no issue bogging here.
It builds boost so quick that, yeah, it could light up the tires right away and away you went.
All right, now, I think this is a good time to give you full disclosure. One of the 2 people sitting at this table has an Evo, and it's not this one. So I guess it must be that one. Tell us about your Evo,
What you're
Paul.
talking about. It's an Evo 8. It's actually one of the first ones ever shipped to the United States. I had it on order 6 months beforehand. I drove an Evo in Japan in 1999 when I was over there working, and I said, I have to have one. So the moment they became available in the US, I had already placed my order, and still have it. It has 160,000 miles on it now, and it's an amazingly fun car.
Yeah, so I think I spent some time behind the wheel, and I've driven Evos before, and what's always amazing is that you've got this kind of, well, it's a weird recipe for success, right? You've got basically a basic family sedan, the Lancer, right?
That's horrible.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that. It's a terrible car.
It's just tinny, it's light, but you stick a massive 2-liter into it, you turbocharge the bejesus out of it.
Technical term.
Yeah, to within a fraction of its life. You make it all-wheel drive. You throw in a great short-shifting transmission, and you've got a car that is legendary. Oh, it just takes off! Oh my God! It's like Usain Bolt. It just rockets off the line. That all-wheel drive. The tires bite. The turbos kick in. The engine spools up. Oh. And you can use it as an everyday driver. And you know what made this car so good? The fact that there was an STI. The 2 companies were like 2 boxers, just trading punch after punch. The Evo 9 MR, this one, followed by a new STI, followed by an Evo 10. And each generation, this car got better, got more confident. But they kept the magic. They kept the same honest formula. They kept the speed. They kept the turbocharger. They kept the body. Well, okay. By the Evo 10, this was getting a little bit dated. And of course, the latest edition, the FE, is very dated. But nevertheless, oh, listen to that wastegate. Here, I'm going to give it a little bit of beans getting on the highway here. Oh, yeah, power through all 6 gears. It is so much fun.
The other thing that they did to that car, where they it's based on just a Lancer, but the actual chassis of the car is reinforced so much, and that's where all that rally experience came from. So there's so many things that are changed to make it an Evo from a Lancer, and it's just this amazing magical handling car. And I put it in the same league as you look at 911s or like an E36 M3, just known as a legendary handling car. And Evo is the same kind of recipe. It just works. Works.
And what's even more amazing about the Evo is that it works in all kinds of different sporty situations. So it works as a daily commuter.
Yep.
It works as a rally car.
Yep.
It works as a dragster.
Yes.
And it works as a track car. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I've won time attack championships in an 820 horsepower wheel horsepower Evo that was just one of the best race cars I've ever driven. It was so fast. I was on the banking at California Motor Speedway doing 192 miles an hour through turn one in the banking. Just crazy fast car. Just they can take a lot of horsepower.
Well, let's find out just how crazy fast it is around the track and hand it over to you. Now, normally this would be a 2-liter turbocharged car, but this is a stroker, so it's putting out a little bit more horsepower because it's a 2.3-liter. At the wheels, according to the owner, 400 horsepower. And in 2006, this was the only year that the car had MIVEC, which is Mitsubishi's version of VTEC. In other words, variable valve timing.
This should be fun stuff.
Aftermarket coilovers, we've got aftermarket brake pads on these Brembos, and we've got Nitto and TO5s. These are relatively sticky tires, so let's see what Paul thinks about this car, taking it around our test track.
Good car, man. The boost response is amazing in this car. It's so fast coming off the line. It just builds boost absolutely instantly, and away she goes. Look at that sliding, all 4 tires just lighting them up on the power, coming into these long corners here. Upshifting, downshifting to get through the turns and get on this boost is just insane to drive this thing. Steering's really responsive, a little more understeer than I would like. I wouldn't have set it up like this if it were my car. I'd have it a little bit more oversteering.
All right, Paul, so that was a little faster that time.
Cool.
Check out your time.
Oh, 103.14.
Yeah,
not so bad.
So you went maybe, what was that, just under half a second faster.
Yeah,
so it does have a lot of, it has a lot of power and a lot of potential. It's also leaking oil. So we figured out the issue, no big deal. The oil's coming from this little catch can, and it was just overflowing because Paul's driving it so hard. Now, this is a work in progress. It currently has a 6-speed, but the owner's going to put a bigger turbo into it, swap out the transmission for a 5-speed, and it should be a lot faster. So this should be a part 2 to this Hot or Not series. Faster than a BMW M2.
Yeah, it's a 2006 car, and
183,000 miles, second engine.
Second engine, yeah, and it gets around the track in a hurry.
How was it around the track?
Well, like we talked about with the 0 to 60, that instantaneous boost and throttle response, and it's putting, as you mentioned, 400 horsepower to the wheels and over 400 pound-feet of torque. And it has a decent tire on it, a summer tire, not a crazy track tire, but kind of a good middle ground tire, and it's still capable of spinning all 4 tires off of the corner. And it also has just a lot of grip from that tire, so it was pretty good. Now it wasn't perfect though. The way the suspension is set up with the coilovers that are on that car, it had a bit more understeer than I would have liked, and so I wasn't able to really turn it in well. So I would actually give the handling nod to the M2 and say that we got lots of power there, and that's why the lap time was actually quicker.
So Mitsubishi built up one of the best engineering teams. They've got patents on everything that you'd ever want to think about in terms of all-wheel drive. They own a lot of really great intellectual property, and then there was a scandal at Mitsubishi, and they broke up the whole team.
Yeah, and actually 2 scandals. Just the recent one
There
was
another one
emissions cheating.
Yeah, but the one before it broke up the team.
And that was it. And they made some really weird decisions as a company to go towards electric cars, even though they had this huge.
It blows my mind
Yeah.
that you can go from that to an iMEV, which is basically like 3 steps above a golf cart.
Yeah, and I was racing for him then, so I was like privy to some of these conversations because I knew people high up in Mitsubishi, and they were just like, "It's crazy." It's like we all know that it's the Evo that is our bread and butter, and yet we're being forced now to disband the Evo team, and they have a choice to leave or to go over to iMEV, and most of them left.
All right, so the question, Paul, is it hot or not? Which one?
Well, I mean, it's a 2006 car that just beat an M2 around the track. So to me, and just with that manic engine and turbo response, was so fantastic to drive. To me, it was definitely hot.
Yeah, hell yeah, it's hot. It's not only the Swiss Army knife of cars, but it's just a constant and utter smile machine, especially when you start getting into that 400 horsepower range.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun to drive, and you can live with it, you can race it, and you can bring it home to your family and put them in and take them to church. How many cars can you do that?
My kids grew up in the back of that Evo, so it's for sure.
Well, thanks guys for watching. This has been another episode of TFL's Hot or Not, and we've got some really cool cars coming down the road, so be sure to stay tuned for those. As always, this is Roman.
And this is Paul.
Saying thanks for watching, and check out TFLcar.com for more news, views, and of course, real world Hot or Not leaderboard reviews. See you next time. Ciao. Welcome to another episode of TFL's Leaderboard, Hot or Not, and I'm Roman Micah, and I'm an automotive journalist.
And I'm Paul Gerard, and I'm a professional driver.
That's right, and today we've got something really special. Sometimes we've got brand new cars, and sometimes we've got cars that are, well, interesting. How would you describe the Velocity, Paul?
Well, the name, I think, says it all, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed.
So it's it's kind of a car, and actually in the name is also exo, so it's like an exoskeleton. So it's basically a tube chassis car where you're hanging on components from production cars, whether it be suspension or engine and drivetrain, and creating something. What you end up with, of course, is when you're shedding the chassis, you get something really light. So you get a crazy power to weight ratio.